A warm welcome back to the Forensic Detailing channel, guys. Do not forget to subscribe. So today's topic, what is the difference between detailing and valeting? What the hell is detailing, and is that a good position for the camera to do this video from? Should be, it better be. Okay, this is tough, and I haven't pre-planned this video, so I'm going to attempt to answer it. So the first thing is, this is all about the maintenance of cars, isn't it? This whole subject area. So we buy cars and we want them to be maintained, you know, the cleanliness. So we know the outside of the cars get dirty, the insides of the cars get dirty. The dirtier it gets, the more unpleasant it is to be in there, and the more it degrades over time. So cleaning is part of maintenance. And essentially a valeter that valets your car is maintaining it for you, and a detailer that details it is also maintaining it for you at a fundamental level. And you can also valet and detail it yourself. So this could get complicated. It could be really simple. You could say, what's the difference? Well, about 200 quid. But we're going to try and answer it a little bit more in depth. So my first thoughts when I've thought about this question is detailing really is going a little bit beyond what the norm is in each area or each detail of what you're doing when you're valeting a car. So you think if you gave your car to a valeter, they would have a sort of set piece process, a good price you feel, and they'd go in and they'd valet your car. So you do the same thing with a detailer. You'd think their processes as they go through and do that are going to be a little bit more involved, perhaps a little bit more time consuming, perhaps a little bit more sophisticated, potentially. Give me an example, John. You go in there, a valeter might vacuum out, you know, do a courtesy vac of the interior of the car, get some interior spray shine and spray up the door cards, spray over your seats and spray over the dashboard. A detailer might go into the interior of a car, and before he vacuums it, he gets a soft tip brush out, you know, like one of those detail factory ones, and gently brushes out all the vents first and gets his vacuum cleaner to collect that dust, so that if he doesn't do that, if he vacuums and later on goes and wipes over the dash, there might be dust everywhere. You know, I'm clutching at straws, but you get the idea. A detailer might approach something a little bit more involved. A detailer might choose not to just spray the interior door cards with some shine. He might look at the leather seats and say that, oh, that's a really expensive matte finish, and this shine product, the customer might not want that. He might want it OEM. And the detailer might provide a ceramic coating for the leather seat because it's state-of-the-art technology and it's going to last for years and be better than a silicone dressing. Again, I'm just giving you an example, and he'd bolt and charge on that surface of that service of applying a ceramic coating to the car seat. Yeah, so there's an example where I think a detailer would just go beyond it. The very simple example that I think a lot of people will think of is that the detailer would also would wash the car with a more safe wash process. That's what I think would be in a lot of people's minds, and it might not be a fair statement that there might be valeters that are safer than detailers, you know, detailers that don't wash them that carefully. But you think in the kind of pecking order of safety, down here, if you go to one of those £5 hand job, £5 hand car washes, or, you know, where they just clean your car, you think they're going to be less safe than up here, which is a studio based, you know, studio detailer. What am I writing there? Detailer, studio, who might charge you 100 quid just to wash your car safely, just do a safe wash on it, you know, a top of the line detailer. Down here, the £5 hand wash, their wash mitt is probably going to be some cheap synthetic wash mitt that they've realised is cheap and robust, and, you know, doesn't fall to bits on them, and it gets used 50 times a day. You know, it might never even get washed. You know, it goes back into a bucket, and the bucket might have dirty water in it, because for that cost, they can't do what a detailer is doing, you know, and they'll wash your car in 10 minutes. they might not pre-wash it, you know, and they might not use 2 buckets. The wash media isn't as good. They'll be rubbing more aggressively. They'll be using stronger chemicals on your wheels and all that sort of stuff. So right down at the bottom, the £5 hand wash is going to be, you know, that's the lower end of it. They still do a bloody fantastic job on certain cars, don't they, for a £5 or a £10 or whatever. There's a place for that, and that's what 99% of people do. You kind of go up here and you go to doing it yourself. You know, you go to, so that's the hand place. Then you do it yourself, and it probably costs you less than a £5 as well. And you could do it as safe as the most diligent detailer on the face of the planet, even longer because you've got times the limit. So you could do it yourself. But then you'd think that if you went up here and there was a valeter, a specialist valeter that had been doing it for a long time, you know, they'd come to your house and valeted it, that they would do a good job and they'd know how to wash your car safely and it would be okay. And they might be a bit cheaper than a top end kind of detailing studio or even a mobile detailer. And maybe that's true. What do you think? The thing is, detailing it has that association with excellence. So a mobile detailer would probably be more expensive, I think, than a mobile valeter, although I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule. Going back to the point we made about safe washing would be a real important distinction, that you'd expect a detailer to primarily be really safe with how they approach your car, because as well as the contact when you wash a car, you know, going in and contacting on dirt and rubbing really hard with dirty media and drying the car off with a dirty towel, the things you're more likely to get down here, you know, a detailer at the other end is going to be very conscious of those. They may be using premium soft wash mitts that they wash at the end of each day and are clean. They may be using milder chemicals. This place might, by default, use wheel acid because they just know that whatever wheel comes in, this will get it clean. They don't care if the brake calipers light up, you know, and go white, you know, or whatever, bare metal calipers. They just want one chemical that they can use and buy in bulk, etc. The valeter might be aware of that and might have a couple of options, you know, he'll use an alkaline cleaner or something, or an acid if he needs to. So again, there's like a spectrum, isn't there? But it's also the case, the detailer would also have some of those very strong caustic chemicals, because not all detailing is cleaning Ferraris that are sort of nearly clean anyway, and you use mild shampoos. A detailer will sometimes get horrible, well, quite a lot, get horrible cars that need strong chemicals. But you would feel that the detailer, again, having that level of excellence and costing more, for example, would be aware of how to use those chemicals a little bit better and what the risks are. You know, you spray a car with caustic kind of pre-wash and you leave it on there in the sun, you can do all sorts of damage, but you may still want that in your arsenal. So understanding of what a vehicle is, what the risks are with every job you do, both how you could cause damage yourself with poor technique, how you could incorrectly use chemicals, and how you could mistreat the surface and how you could damage it. And I think basically the difference is someone that's experienced will know that, and whether they're a detailer or a valeter wouldn't really matter, but you'd expect it from detailing, wouldn't you? So that would be kind of my idea of where we're going with this subject of what the difference is. To give you more examples, paint correction machine polishing is a big part of detailing. When you get valeting services down here that involve machine polishing, typically they won't be doing a level of quality of work of what a detailer could do. Again, there's exceptions to this, so don't get upset if you're a valeter and you're doing good polishing work. There's exceptions to this. If you're a valeter and you're doing top machine polishing work, you can wet sand, you can compound, you can finish out paint, you understand paint, then perhaps, you know, your business would be better advertised as detailing, maybe. Another subject there. You'd expect perhaps a valeter to be able to maybe have like a rotary polisher, and he would whiz around your car with a product, a compound or polish or whatever, an all-in-one, and do a reasonable job and not throw the polish everywhere. But a detailer, you'd perhaps want them using dual action polishers, less risk of buffer trails, and really polishing the car slower, because the slower you are and the more time you spend with machine polishing, and the preparation. You know, we talked about the importance of washing properly first, getting all the grime out, taping up perhaps, you know, deconning first. How many valeters are really going to thoroughly decon before polishing? Whereas a master level detailer would definitely want to get that paintwork, you know, all prepped properly and dried off and inside in his studio, have a cup of tea and then go into polishing mode and tape up the car and spend the time on each panel. I mean, you can tell a good detailer with how interested they are in light, because light, you know, working with low light, everything can look great. Even you can put products on, they look good and they get out in the light, and then they look terrible when the sun gets on them. So good detailers will typically be very interested in lighting and making sure everything they're working on is lit up. That's the way. This is the way. So we're giving you more and more examples here of expertise that you should perhaps get with detailing. Now, in terms of trying to define what detailing is, so you could say detailing is the art of knowing how to clean and improve and protect certain surfaces and materials on an automotive car, and how to do that safely and the best ways, the best technologies, the best products, all that sort of stuff. It should be top drawer. Where was I going with that? Talking so much, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, but a lot of it is, yeah, that's, I think, the essential essence of where we're going with this. That you get the idea. I want you to put in the comments as well what you feel about what is the difference between detailing and valeting, and that is probably my best attempt to do it. I think most people get the idea, but like I say, there's a place for all of this. There's times and cars that, I remember a friend of mine, he really bad at cleaning cars and keeping his cars clean, was trying to sell one. And I just said to him, take it down the car wash and get like the gold service and then sell it. And, you know, then photograph it and then sell it. And he did. And I think they charged him like 20 quid. It was a wash and wax and a vacuum. And they did a really good job. And because of that, the car looked a lot better and he was able to sell it. So there's definitely a place down here. Typically down here, your biggest risk is them ripping off lacquer with the pressure washer. I've seen a lot of places give up on contact clean and get the pressure washer about an inch from the paintwork and blast it off. But then I've seen places down here that work quite well. So it really varies. I've seen places down here where the guy's standing on top of the car, jet washing it, walking across the top of a van with his shoes, you know, and jet washing the thing. So I've seen all sorts of horror stories down here, but there's also a lot of great places that do a decent job valeting their cars. They know if they miss dirt that their customers pick up on that and they don't go back, or they'll moan at them. So they've worked out how to quickly and cheaply clean cars, do a good job. How could detailing improve, which is a really interesting subject? I think the one neglected area of detailing is underbody cleaning, because most detailers, if you're mobile, you're not going to be able to easily access the underneath of a car. And not a lot of detailers that have got studio places really want to mess around with undercarriage cleaning, because it's messy, it's horrible. You're dealing with corrosion, you're dealing with a lot of stuff, and your workshop is going to get filthy. But some are, you've got the dry ice stuff, and there are undercarriage places that do it. But detailing, I think, could be improved, because that's the bit of the car I'm really into, like all of this, and I hate cleaning underneath my car, and I do it myself. I jack up, I try and blast under there regularly and all that. And if there was a good undercarriage place, it could be a valeting undercarriage specialist. That wouldn't bother me. If they're good at cleaning the undercarriage, I'd use that service. So that's where detailing could improve. Yeah, I think you'd expect a detailer to use really good products as well, and things like ceramic coatings, valeters will be using those less because they're a bit more involved, and you need perhaps studio environment to install them more reliably. So everything you'd expect up here from detailing would be a bit more cutting edge, a bit more involved, a bit more cautious. You know, a detailer, it might be in the back of your mind as a detailer, you can damage the car when you're clambering around inside, for example. That's one of the easiest ways to damage leather seats, is putting your knees into them, like putting all your weight. Because I've done it, and you can damage leather. You stretch it, you can pop the seams on it. You know, clambering around in the car, you can damage stuff. You can damage stuff with your fingernails, like the sensitive surfaces in it. You can put like gouges in it and stuff like that. So it's like, I think detailers will be really mindful of everything that could go wrong. And you'd think as you go down here, it's less about messing around and it's more about getting it done, giving the customer value and stuff like that. So what do you feel about that, guys? That's, I think, probably a half sensible answer, isn't it? With backed up with some excellent visuals for you to enhance the viewing experience. So like I said, what do you feel the difference is? There's a place for all of them. There's a place for detailers, there's a place for valeters, there's definitely a place for cheap car washes. They work for 99% of the people that want to pay £5 or £10. They don't care about all of this kind of detailing stuff. Those people that are paying £5 or £10, they don't care about swirls, most people. You know, it's just really, I think there's a whole industry of people that really care about cars. There's a whole portion of people that are so into cars in the UK. And because of that, detailing can exist, which is a cool thing. So it's a really cool industry. It's blown up tons in the last year. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you feel about it, and take care.